The Trump administration announced it's planning to fire thousands more employees at the Department of Veterans Affairs as part of the White House effort to dramatically downsize the federal workforce. A quarter of the VA's workforce comprises veterans themselves, and that's prompting questions about how the cuts might affect the quality and timeliness of the services the VA provides. Doug Collins is the Secretary of the Department of Veterans Affairs and joins us now. Thanks for being with us. Welcome to the NewsHour.
I'm glad to be here.
So earlier this evening, you confirmed that the VA will terminate an additional 70,000 plus staffers, and you say that these cuts will help the VA fulfill its core mission. How exactly? How is it possible to reduce staffing and resources without negatively impacting the quality and timeliness of care?
Well, the first off is I didn't announce that we're actually going through it at this moment. I said we're beginning the process to look at a reduction in force that will resemble about 15% of the force, and that's what we have begun to do. And what we've done all along is actually take a look at our core functions, making sure that the veteran is first. And it is sort of interesting to me that we say that there's no way this can affect quality of care or others, when really what we're seeing right now and we've experienced over the last few years is Washington, D.C.'s tendency to just throw money and people at problems. Over the last 4 years, there's been $130 billion added to the budget at the VA, and plus 80,000 employees. But yet at the same time, backlogs of benefits have went up, healthcare wait times have actually went up, and when this was all in a different position just 4 years ago. So the question is not what where we're looking at to make sure that we're getting efficient is following what the president has called for, but also making sure that we're delivering it in the best way. And we're the best ones to look at that by actually taking our force, who is doing a great job, but saying how can we do it more efficiently.
Well, given the VA wait times scandal during the Obama administration, the ongoing concerns about access to care for veterans, what specific safeguards are in place to ensure that veterans don't face longer delays or reduced services?
Well, I think what safeguards is employees doing their jobs, and which is what they're trying. We're working to make sure they have all the tools to do that. We're also putting in place, making sure that they have the critical assets to the appointment schedules. We're making a look at all of how we actually deal with our hiring. Remember, one of the things we've talked about here, and it's not been talked about enough, is we're protecting and have protected over 300,000 positions at the VA that we had as mission critical, front facing to our veterans, not only in health care but in benefits as well. We're doing this to make sure that we're actually getting the results we needed. I think too long we found in Washington, and I've said this before and I said it on the video earlier, that we have this idea that money and people will solve issues. And really the reality is if you don't have good processes in place, you're not going to solve the problem. This has been going on the Hill, and we've known this on Capitol Hill for years. Senator Johnny Isakson from Georgia, who used to be the chair of the Senate VA committee, actually said this almost 10 years ago. He said the problem with the VA is not that it needs more money, and this was almost $200 billion ago. It needed a better structure, and that's what we're trying to provide.
Well, a question about the process, because our team has heard from scores of veterans who've been terminated as a result of these DOGE cuts. And there's an Air Force veteran who asked that we protect his identity. He says he was twice promoted, yet received a termination notice describing poor job performance. Take a listen.
Last week, to be locked out of my computer and handed a blanket termination email that was sent from OPM saying that I was being let go due to poor performance. And it's a flat out lie. It's a disgusting lie at that. I received awards from upper management, certificates. I was treated like a criminal, like I had done something wrong. They're destroying people's lives to get to these numbers that you're requesting. If you don't realize that, I'm trying to let you know now. Here's your wake-up call.
So what do you say to that? The indiscriminate or dismissive treatment that some VA staffers are describing related to their termination?
Well, one thing, this will be a probationary employee who was let go. This is where this has been coming from the process, which is an understanding we're looking at the total picture. This is an employee also that was in a what was deemed out of those 300,000 plus jobs that I mentioned earlier, not a front-facing position that affects veterans' health directly or veterans' benefits directly. Look, this is something that we have. There's nothing that I take more serious than having to look at our workforce and having layoffs that happen. We feel for that, but it happens not only only in government, it happens all across the country in many jobs that we're seeing just in the last little bit with Southwest Airlines and others who are announcing large layoffs. These are the kind of things that are hard to do, and there's something that's not easy, and I take very seriously, but also in the perspective of that we have to look out to say, are we going to be fulfilling the mission that the President has asked us to do, and that is to take care of our veterans, but also do in a cost-effective and very efficient manner. And again, one of the things that I've said here, and it's not mentioned very much in the press, is if this was a area in which it should have been flagged, or if this was a mistake and it shouldn't have been part of this probation area, there is an exemption process that has been used many times, but undoubtedly in this person's case, their supervisor decided not to ask for the exemption because their position where it was and what was going on. So again, it is bad when anyone loses their job, but there have been things in place to make sure that we are trying to target as best we can the areas that we need to.
Veterans, as I'm sure you well know, have been hit hard across the board as it relates to these DOGE cuts because veterans comprise nearly 30% of the federal workforce. And there are Americans who no doubt believe that people who served their country and who continue that service through their federal job should be exempt from these firings. How do you view it?
Well, I view it as this, as someone who served for 23 years in the Air Force, who's also been deployed, who also understands what life like is there. It's interesting to me that they always look to the government as an exempt employee, that our job is the government, part of a job for a government employee is something sacrosanct outside of the government. My other question is for those who say they should be exempt inside of government, where are they in the process of taking care of veterans not working for the government? Look, all veterans are the same to me. They've earned benefits, they've earned and served our country well, they're very protected and loved by me and wanting to be cared for, and that's what they will continue to get their care from health care and benefits from the VA. But again, it's an interesting thing that we look at government employment as something different than employment outside. And, again, to say that a veteran who's employed by the government is different than a veteran employed outside of government is just frankly not a valid argument.
A question about veteran care. We spoke with a veteran who's currently receiving inpatient treatment at the Bath VA Medical Center in New York. And this person says the cuts that the VA have instituted already are affecting the quality of care.
We've also had a lot of scheduled groups that are being canceled simply because we don't have the staff to facilitate them. And so that leaves us veterans to our own devices. And a lot of people just isolate in their rooms. And for people who suffer from substance use disorder or mental health issues, isolation is one of the worst things you can do, especially in recovery from substance use. To the administration who says there's no effect on veteran care, I say you are absolutely wrong, and come here and I will show you.
What's your response?
Well, my response is this is just a piece of journalism that's not doing its job in the sense of you're taking a veteran who is saying that they're not getting care in a facility and in a health setting in which those jobs and others have been exempt. And so care that has been taken care would not have been affected. And also, by the way, this has just happened within the last week. To say that there's this all of a sudden this dearth in care because of cuts that are happening here is simply not right. Remember, in these areas, we've exempted 300,000 employees, and sometimes we're having to also, if someone leaves or goes away from that position, we're also having to hire. We're able to hire we're not under the hiring freeze for those positions, so we're trying to bring people in. But to blame this and simply use this event to blame it on cuts and blame it on what's happening right now with the VA is frankly not fair to the American people, and it's not fair to veterans who are hearing this thinking that something else is going on. This may be this person's perspective. I respect their position, but their position does not reflect what we've actually done.
How would a veteran like that be able to flag that concern and have it addressed in this new administration?
Well, they can go, if they're having issues, they can talk to the people at the VA, they can talk to their schedulers. They can actually, again, as always happens here, and it's one of the things we got to get away from, if they're having problems with scheduling or scheduling's not happening, we have some issues in third-party scheduling or however they're trying to get their schedule made, is look, reach out to your veterans service organization, reach out to our veteran crisis line, talk to the people. Don't just simply sit there and think that you're by yourself. We have multitudes of resources to reach out to find out what's going on and to find out what's really happening. My concern is that people are being led or mistold things that are not actually affecting their specific care, and they're then trying to broaden it out to a more open attack on what they maybe positions that they don't understand or don't like.
Secretary Collins, we are out of time, but we invite you back anytime to continue this conversation. Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Doug
Thanks, have a good-
Collins, thank you.
Take care.